Today for us to start doing some standing and some fighting to back that
We're gonna go straight into on the word on the street, man, is education at home. A lot of students, a lot of people, kids. Some of you guys have kids or are getting educated at home right now, and due to the pandemic, it stands to limit our children's education emotionally and socially. I was just wondering about what you guys think about the emotional and social intelligence of the kids out there due to the pandemic, learning from home.
I'll definitely start with that one. Being an art teacher in DC, I see over 200 children in a week, at least 200 children. And, a lot of them have issues like with internet at home. You know what I'm saying? Like, not their fault, right? It's like they just might not have internet at home or, have a bad connection. A lot of these kids might get like, what are those things called that you can put in your house and you can get the internet off of it? I forgot what they call it. It's something small.
Router. You talking about the modem or like the setup, the router?
Wi-Fi router, Wi-Fi modem and stuff.
Yeah, they've been giving those out, but those things don't work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, or it might not
towers.
Might not support the family's internet issues. And so you'll have some kids that when it's time for them to talk, they're lagging, And then it's even worse when a teacher's in that situation, where the teacher has, lagging issues on their Zoom, and then you can't hear what the teacher's saying. You can't hear what the student's saying. I know I get tired of that shit. I'd be like, look, put in the chat, right? Like just put whatever you're saying in the chat because it's like everybody's listening to. We're doing a lesson on art on colors or something like that. And all your
oh man,
like 2 minutes. Put it in the chat. Don't.
Oh man,
second grade.
that sucks.
Mommy, daddy, write it in the chat. Nobody want to hear that. Because it makes everybody feel off. And if you're the teacher and that's happening with you, you automatically got students logging off. Boom, boom, boom. I'm done. A lot of kids. Google Classroom situation where you're sending out assignments almost like it's college. It's like they're getting hit with new assignments every day from all of their classes. So it becomes overwhelming because it's not like I'm in the class and I could be the teacher's pet or the teacher knows me, teacher understands what I'm trying to know. If you didn't turn in your assignment, you got an F. And so that puts a lot of kids who are used to the traditional classroom at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree. I myself, I'm a former educator. But prior to that, I was a private tutor for several years. I started out tutoring through church, and then I, had some students that I individually worked with, mostly middle school, high school. And the one thing that even before this pandemic, I noticed that was just a stark difference. And I was blessed that, all of the schools that I went to were magnet schools. So there was an emphasis on academic excellence. The standards were higher, whereas like most of the schools, I went to public school, but most of the schools in my district, a 90 was an A. All the schools I went to, a 95 was an A. You got a 94, it's a B, a high B.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an emphasis, and they didn't call it that at that time, but what I've come to learn now and how they've kind of rebranded that approach to education is you see it a lot in STEM schools where it's like focused on science and mathematics, and there's a specific emphasis on mastery.
Right.
And the STEM school here in Columbus, Ohio, I had the opportunity to go to a graduation because one of the students, their graduating class, I believe it was 2017, was a girl that, we grew up with her mom. I was tutoring her in chemistry her senior year. So I got to go to her graduation. One of our Congress representatives, Joyce Beatty, who, is pretty prominent even in the Black caucus. She's one of the prominent Black Democrats in Congress. She spoke at their graduation, and she talked about how that school was established as a model for getting back to mastery. So one of the things that impressed me was, when as the kids are walking across stage, they all had PowerPoint slides. And not only did it say, where they had declared they were going to school, but I was more suppressed by the majors. It was a lot of research majors. Like when we were in school, these would be people that were biology majors, or whereas research professions,
Right.
physics, psychology, etc. And the emphasis in that school was on mastery. So mastery is the way they understood it. And the way that I learned, I realized like that was how we were taught, is you don't really know a concept until you're able to teach somebody else that concept.
Exactly.
So the pattern that, and you hear a lot of teachers talk about standardized testing and how they've increased it and how that is taken away from the learning experience overall, because teachers are, measured by their job performance as to how well these students can pass these tests. There's a difference between being able to pass a test. Like you can pass a test without actually having mastered the concept.
Well, that's the reason why being in a school environment online, I kind of think that there always is bad and good to something. And, I think that to a certain extent, there are some students that are going to excel in an environment where they're able to study on their own in their own environment, but there are going to be some that would fail. And so that was the reason why I think about it, because, the social aspect of life is a big thing that we miss out on when we think about school, and the emotional aspect of life, is also something that we miss out on going through school. So the fact that our students are not going to have some of that experience for a potential year or potentially 2 years in some cases, that could stand to have a big effect, right?
Yeah, I want to say it's been kind of a flip. Right. So like the students that have issues with traditional school, sitting down, listening to a teacher talking, tend to do better in a virtual learning environment. Like the kids that I was like sending to the principal office every day are getting A's in my class. You know what I'm saying? Because they could, I don't know how. It's like they could
distractions.
Less distractions. More focused energy, because it's like I could press mute, right? I could just watch whatever he's doing and just do whatever he's doing, versus like I gotta sit and listen to everything that he's saying, right? And then also some of the kids are getting a lot of help at home, right? Like I've had to tell some of my parents, like, stop drawing for your kids. Like they can't make a square. They wouldn't be able to make a square in school.
They're
like
drawing for the kids,
right? Drawing for the kids. But it's not just in art. That's in art.
So this is a perfect square, son.
Every single subject, science, ELA, and then getting it wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's like, like if you're gonna help them, at least help them with the right answers. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like some of our parents aren't equipped to like even deal with, like, they're so far removed from school, and then trying to help their kids in a virtual environment has even got them stressed too. So it's like everybody's kind of stressed out.
I can only imagine. That would have me stressed out. I mean, and you as a teacher and a parent have to have a standard for your own students, I'm sure, as far as they're learning at home. What do you have as far as some of the ways that you make sure that they keep your learning going if they're learning from home?
Well, if they're learning from, I like to do more interactive stuff. Like this past quarter, we did more like graphic design type stuff. So we would have like logo design, entrepreneurship. They would have assignments around entrepreneurship. So they have to choose some sort of market they want to get into, and then they would have to do a business plan, and then create a logo to go along with it. And so a lot of kids really got into that.
I like that.
Right? Because it was something that was real world for them.
It's applicable. There's something they can actually have to do with as adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with middle schoolers, that's really what you want to give them. You want to give them kind of like a taste of what adults do. So like whatever type of like art form we're dealing with, they're getting kind of a mini collegiate version of it, right? That's kind of what you want to do with older kids, because other than that, you're gonna lose them. They ain't gonna care, and you got to keep them accountable. So it's like with Google Classroom, you can put all the assignments out there. They can get them, they can do them, send it back to you. You can see them, give them grades right then and there. But some of the kids have issues with like they're not tech savvy. Some kids are very tech savvy. That's all they do all day. some kids aren't so tech savvy, and the kids who are like more traditional classroom aren't getting the internet stuff, how to copy and paste.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Little shit like that. Like, how do I copy and paste it?
The one main concern that I have is I do think that there's still something to be. And now, the way that we were taught in school, there was a lot that could have been improved. I like I said, I was blessed to go to pretty good schools academically. But I think that was more based on the culture that was established and the principles that those schools were founded on. And so it was like, how they say, like, a rising tide lift all boats. Like I or probably the average student had went to a different school, I may not have done as well. But when you go to a school where everybody is, held to a higher standard,
Right.
Then on average, the average C student at one school might be a B student at that school because it's cool to excel academically.
And that's the reason why I'm saying that concept is definitely missing from the child's education for this year. I know for the people who weren't able to attend school at a place of learning. So we have yet to learn and see what that effect will be, man. But
we haven't even talked about the social aspect, which I think is, the results of that we may not even know for another 10, 20 years. Because if you think about it, that's already happening. Like, I see a clear difference between, the generation of teenagers now. And again, Shaka, you could probably also speak to this as well. But attention span, you want to talk about TikTok or, the influence of social media and how it's affected, kids in school and the social aspect, the social development. A lot of kids are uncomfortable having a conversation with a complete stranger. If you put them in a room, you take away cell phone or tablets or laptop. And I've also seen, I worked for a year in a school environment where, it was basically students with, a variety of special needs, but some of them were on the spectrum, some of it was more behavioral, but their learning was completely virtual. They're in a classroom with other kids, but it's only 5 or 6 kids in the class, and they all have laptops, and they're on those laptops all day.
Wow, I never knew.
It's really doing something to them. Like, it's hurting it. Like, I had a conversation with my kids this past Friday, right? I was like, with my student, I was like, so, because only like 12 of them showed up. Man. I'm not used to that. I got a class of like 25 kids, right? And like 12 of them showed up. And I was like, so what's going on? Like, why are you guys at me? You know what I mean? Like, am I boring you guys? Or is it like something with the internet? Or what's really going on? So a lot of them was like, our eyes hurt. It was like, my eyes hurt.
Screen time, yeah.
Screen time, my back hurts. Sitting down this long is just impossible. Some kids are
that's terrible. That's terrible.
I mean, it's bad for us as adults. I mean, but even though a lot of people are working from home now, it's been proven that if you go to a desk job and you sit at your desk for 8 hours a day, that's going to eventually affect your posture.
That's what I'm saying.
Your overall mental health, your physical health, all of those things. So to expect a child to function and, God forbid, excel and maximize their potential in that type of learning environment, in just my opinion, the best teachers that I had were always able to flourish when it was like they were able to take you outside of the classroom and show you some shit that's
not gonna happen.
But you're right. But that is an inherent part of learning, is being able to not just see it on a chalkboard or on a tablet screen, but actually go out and, if you're talking about biology, plant some seeds and talk about photosynthesis and the process of the water cycle. Like, when kids are able to see that in action in real time, it makes it more concrete and tangible, to whereas you were just looking at it on a computer screen, it's just a graphic. And eventually all that shit starts to look the same.
Yeah.
And then there's other kids that I saw that would get through all of their assignments you know, in less than half of the school day. So what are they doing the other half of the school day? Well, if you finish your work early, you know, you get to go to the gym with Mr. Adam for extra gym time. We got to play pickup basketball for 2 hours. You know, like, but it was like a reward. So what that taught some kids to do was just speed through everything, get a C, you know, get a passing grade so that they can go straight to the gym.
Right.
You know, which is nowhere close to mastery or understanding a concept.
Right. But like nowadays, on the virtual learning tip, like some kids will be sitting there playing their game, like while in class. So like while in class, they'll be sitting there playing their game, right? And their teacher's expectation might be, I need you to have your camera on, but that doesn't mean that I'm listening to what you're saying. And then sometimes they don't even have their cameras on, so you don't know, they just here to be on the attendance roll. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like it's so many different factors that are happening in the virtual learning space that, you know, I don't know how long we can you know, manage.
I don't either. And I mean, that's the American education system as it is during the pandemic. And, you know, I'm glad that you brothers could chat about it, because I'm happy to know that we graduated. We've already done with school. We're not even doing nothing. But for the kids, I mean, it's tough. And I can only imagine what it would be like some of the most formative years for the students that were, you know, I even think about the fact that there's such a break. Like if you're in middle school or like freshman year, or even in your, you know, fourth and fifth grade, depending on when you start to have transitions of your mind in different ways, to have a break where you miss your student friends and your teachers that you liked and all that stuff, just that environment can really be shattering. And I can only imagine.